news. All right. This is pretty interesting. An Australian bank claims that they have an AI agent that cuts scam losses. And what it does is it translates, it takes data from people who want to get loans, and it decides whether to approve their mortgages. And they say it lowers frauds, and it cuts customer wait times. So it sounds good. This is something AI is generally good at, taking a pile of information and summarizing it. We'll see how it goes. And they say they're going to have more than 50 use cases coming, so I haven't seen very many people claiming success like this. What I've mostly seen is negative stories saying that AI is not in fact helping businesses as much as they thought, but this Australian bank says it is indeed helping their business. So this is interesting to know. You know, the Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, and after he discovered that, he figured out that Trump was likely to win, he went in advance, bent the knee, and supported Trump, and stopped his paper from endorsing Kamala. And Mark Benioff, the owner of Salesforce, another huge company, owns Time magazine, and he uses the magazine to promote his software. So this is an important thing to understand. One form of government corruption, which we're going to have a lot more of as we go ahead. You have to understand who owns your news media and what they are in the business of lying to you about. So it's just a thing to know about, and I think everybody is going to have to be much more suspicious and much more educated about your sources of news going forward. It is the people of Britain put in Boris Johnson and voted for Brexit, which was a disaster because they believed lies. And I think it's fair to say Americans have done the same thing. They put in Trump, who I think will also be a disaster because they used unreliable news sources. So it is important to be a educated consumer of news. So this is interesting. There have been quite a few examples all down through history, people claiming to have self-thinking machines, and it turned out there was a human remotely controlling it. I knew that the large language models rely upon a large fleet of humans to label the data that they're trained on, but after that they really do run without humans in the loop answering their questions. But Tesla is now going to have a team to remotely control its self-driving robotaxis, and apparently Waymo does this too, although they haven't publicly admitted it apparently. But it is the case that the self-driving AI is not really very good. It's easily confused. If you reach I'll turn this on. If you reach a difficult driving situation, then a human has to take over. And I thought a human had to drive out to take over your Waymo, but apparently a human can remote control it. And Tesla is going to be the same thing. Tesla drivers have reported that if you turn on the automatic self-driving, you have to intervene every 8 miles or so because it does something appalling and dangerous. So I guess they're going to have humans controlling them, probably one human controlling many of them from a distance, and we'll see what happens. There have been several articles recently showing studies show that the Teslas are far more dangerous than they have been advertised to be. So see what comes of that. So Biden pardoned his son after repeatedly promising he wouldn't, and said the reason he had to do it is because it was a politicized prosecution that should never have happened. And this plays right into Trump's hands. Trump's already said this is why he has to put loyalists in charge of the DOJ and FBI. He's putting Kash Patel in charge of the FBI, who says first thing he's going to do is shut the place completely and turn it into a museum and eliminate the FBI forever. So, like I say, we're headed into a period of spectacular corruption in America. I mean, Trump sells everything just for money. He was against TikTok until they bribed him. He was against cryptocurrency until they bribed him. He'll just do anything for anybody that bribes him. And the Democrats used to pretend to have the moral high ground, but Biden has now pretty much discarded that. So the Democrats have not got much of a selling point now. It was that Trump is going to corrupt the government and destroy democracy, and we're going to hold it up. And this is a significant mark in the direction of what Trump and other dictators have always said, which is everybody is corrupt, everybody is lying. You might as well just put up with me because I'll be a little bit more on your side, and all the other guys are crooks too. And, it's getting to be how it looks. It's too bad. I mentioned Kash Patel. Kash Patel wrote a book and explained that he hates everything about the FBI. He thinks they're just a political organ of corruption and wants to just totally shut them down, so he's going to be the FBI director, which would fit with Trump's argument that basically all law enforcement should just be shut down because he's, of course, a criminal and on the run from law enforcement, so he wants to end law enforcement, except when he uses it to punish his enemies, which a lot of people are afraid of, which is why so many are bending the knee in advance, like Joe Scarborough and Jeff Bezos and the head of the Los Angeles Times. Many, many people have gone to Trump to sort of grovel before him and say, please don't hurt me, because they're afraid he will hurt them when he gets in, with relatively good reason. And Pete Hegseth, Trump's pick to, I think, be in charge of the DOD, just more and more appalling stuff keeps coming out about him. Now it turns out that he was thrown out of a nonprofit he ran, supposedly a charity for veterans, because he just spent all the money on personal things, and he was drunk frequently in public at public events, and assaulting women and such. He just seems to be a complete drunken, sexist pig and a crook. So it'll fit perfectly in the Trump administration. We'll see what happens. The Republican senators, some of them are actually pushing back a little bit. We'll see if they have the guts to actually block any of these nominations. In previous times, more than 10 years ago, they would all have been not even considered at all for any position of such importance because of their obvious incompetence and lack of qualifications. But since Trump's goal is to pretty much tear down the government, he sees them as loyal partners in that endeavor, and the other Republicans may feel that way too. We'll see. So I've been at off-truism all my life. They say Venus is the pair of Earth, and therefore maybe it once had life. Now they have found out it never had enough water at all. Venus is too dry and always has been too dry. So that changes that narrative if this is held up. All right. And so Marin County, they lost $1 million from a $3 million fund to, I think, for low-income housing. Yeah, for rehabilitation of public housing. And this is the most common hack. This is like the number 2 or 3 most common hack in the world. I think it's the number 1 most common risk for businesses is email compromise. They used phishing attacks and got in people's emails, and then they sent emails telling them where to send the money. And when the government thought they were funding this agency, they sent $950,000 to them, but the agency never got the money because the email had been hacked, and they sent it to the crooks, and nobody noticed for a month. And when they say their money's pretty much gone. They'll probably never figure out who did it. They could have used a proxy and come from anywhere. And they say they're going to refill the money, but it looks like the hackers got to steal $1 million. It looks like they're going to get away with it. All right. Well, that's enough of the news. Let me stop this.